Good evening and welcome to the Angela Ray Show. Wow, it is December, the last month of 2021, and I have missed you all. Had a couple of off weeks, and then of course last week was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And if you know, like I know, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving is one of the busiest days of the year. People say it's the busiest travel day of the year, but it's also the biggest cooking day. I know I was in the kitchen last Wednesday night putting together my mac and cheese. It's famous, just so you know, putting together my yam recipe. I've been told I should go ahead and sell that. And also helping family put together the final touches for Thanksgiving dinner the next day. Of course, I am thankful for all of you, for those of you who have been hanging with the Angela Ray Show since last year when we relaunched during the pandemic. And so, because this is a season, this is a holiday season, and we just had Thanksgiving last week. I would love to know from those of you who will be watching live tonight, as soon as you slide onto the broadcast, get into those comments and let me know what you are thankful for this year. What are you thankful for this year? Go ahead and slide into the comments and let me know what you are thankful for. Well, as we do on the show, we kick things off with the Ray of Motivation moment. And for tonight's Ray of Motivation moment, I just want to remind you that you should know how to read the room and then know how to leave the room. You should know how to read the room and then know how to leave a room. There is something to be said about intuition. There's something to be said about when our gut lets us know that something is either not quite right. um Maybe someone doesn't have our best interest at heart, or just you get that feeling when you're around people. Just, some people call it bad energy, bad vibes. And I think some of my older relatives might say, something not right with her, something is not right with him. That just something in your spirit lets you know that maybe that's not where you belong. You want to make sure that you are fine tuning that ability to read any room. And when I say room, I don't mean just when you meet someone. I mean any situation that you find yourself in. So whether that's a job situation, a personal relationship, maybe it might even be things that you are getting involved with family members. You want to be able to read those situations, and when it is time, you want to make sure that you leave those situations when they no longer serve you. And that is tonight's Ray of Motivation moment for this December version and edition of the Angela Ray Show. Well, I'm really excited tonight. As I mentioned, it is the holiday season. And while I am very happy and I have so many things to be thankful for, there are people who are facing some very challenging times. Of course, we are still in the midst of a pandemic, but also the holiday season isn't merry or jolly for a lot of people. So I'm really excited for my guest tonight. She is enterprising, she is dedicated, and she is knowledgeable. Brandy J. Flynn is a luminary committed to empowering our communities to be resilient and transparent as it pertains to mental health. She's a graduate of Jackson State University, where she received her Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and her Master of Science in Guidance and Counseling. Now, if her name or her face is familiar to you, that may be because she has become a featured series regular therapist on TV One's Thou Shalt Not and For My Man. So please help me welcome my special guest on tonight, Brandy J. Flynn. Brandy, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. And I must say, I just love how you did my introduction. I was like, oh, who is that?
Yes, that is you. Sometimes as women, particularly, we kind of forget all of our
I
accomplishments until we
know.
really hear some. And I didn't even read everything. I just read a couple of highlights. But there's so much more. I mean, you're involved with counseling athletes. I know that you've been to some of the basketball games
I
there
have.
in Memphis.
Yeah.
I've seen some of those highlights, and you talking about that. So there are a lot of things that you can definitely be proud of. But to start off, I would love to know, how did you get started in counseling?
So, to make a long story short, a lot of people um, ask, "How did you choose this life?" I always say the life chose me because I wanted to do something totally different. I wanted to be in criminal justice. I wanted to be working law enforcement, but things didn't work out. So, when people are in college and things don't work out, they go substitute teach. And I was a substitute teacher, and I remember the kids used to come and talk to me about their issues, and I'm like, don't you guys got a school counselor for that? Well, Miss Flynn, you understand, you talked to us, and I really thought about it and went back and got my master's, and here I am.
Now, that it remind when you just said that I didn't really choose this, it chose me. It reminds me of, what is that saying? I didn't choose the streets chose me.
Exactly. And that's
But
a
also recognizing that you knew how to read the room, because you just,
yeah,
back to the Ray of Motivation moment, you knew how to read the room, which was this criminal justice thing, and this teaching thing, and then you knew how to leave and go where your purpose was, where you were discovering your purpose in that season of substitute teaching.
yes.
What is the most rewarding part of being a mental health practitioner?
The most rewarding part to me is knowing that I played a part in making a difference in somebody's life. Like seeing people improving with their life, with their mental health, and just becoming greater. Just, I played a part in that. And that's so rewarding to know that you made a difference in somebody's life. Like you can actually pinpoint. I don't want to say I did that to sound cocky, but I did that.
And I was talking just a minute ago about your involvement with athletes. Talk about how that part of your work kind of fits into everything else that you do.
Well, you know what, with athletes and entertainers, they're under the microscope, and we say they're regular people, but they're kind of not regular people because an athlete, just say Mary J. Blige and Brandy J. Flynn do the same thing. Well, Mary J. Blige will be in the spotlight. Brandy J. Flynn won't because I'm not famous. And it's like for them to learn how to balance, those lives. And it's hard for them to find somebody to help them and be there for them because of who they are and not what they are. So it's very hard for them. And like I said, just to have that balance, because I tell people a lot of times when your personal life is affected, like with athletes, a lot of times when athletes mess up in their game, it's because there's something affecting them in their personal life. Same way with entertainers. So if they have that balance, they can not only have a successful career, but could also have a successful life.
So you were just talking about sometimes how that personal life can spill over into performance on the court, on the field, on the stage, on the set. Speaking of personal life, you recently have been battling some personal challenges of your own.
Yeah.
Talk about how you found out about your diagnosis and what life has been like since that time.
Wow. So, in June, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Had no clue at all, like no suspicions. I knew that I was having difficulty like losing weight or whatever like that, and I'm trying to, get on some medication to help me lose weight because nothing would help. And so my doctor was like, felt my thyroid, said it felt enlarged, sent me to go get tested. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll go get tested to see what's wrong with my thyroid so we can fix it. Well, cancer never came into my mind. And when I tell you that I was so tunnel vision about everything that it didn't dawn on me that the doctor I was going to was a cancer doctor to go get my results. I'm just tunneled. And because I was just so focused on work, because I was like, okay, I got this appointment. When I get through, I got to go to the office because I got a client. And so as we're talking and she's reading my results and I'm paying attention to her, I was like, are you telling me that I have cancer? And she kind of looked like, yeah, you know. And usually when people hear they have cancer, they used to break down, freak out. I didn't do that. I think I kind of went like in, well, it's not kind of, I went into autopilot, like, okay, well, what we need to do, what we doing, surgery, they tell me this, that. I said, okay, cool. And I told them, I said, I know that I'm taking this professionally. I said, I'm probably going to break down later on. And I did. Um, I can say that even though with my cancer, and I'm in remission, even though it's not they call it the good cancer. There's nothing good about cancer. Please don't tell it to nobody. But it has a high survival rate. But my life will never be the same again because my thyroid is gone. And I never realized how much your thyroid controls your body with your energy, your metabolism, your mood, all of that. So being on medication for the rest of my life, watching the foods that I eat, and just different other things that I'm still dealing with. Because, like I said, this just happened in June. I had my surgery in July, did my radiation in September. So I'm still processing. I can say I had a great support team. My friends were really, really there for me. It to the point where I didn't have to ask. I didn't have to ask for anything because people stepped in. Now, I will say that there were some people that I would say if I wasn't strong minded and if I wasn't in therapy myself, I probably would have felt broken. And there were times where I was broken, where I had to take the therapist hat off. I had to take the I don't want to say perfection hat off, but just holding it together. I really had to take that off and really allow myself to deal with it. And I still deal with it. I still have my moments about it and stuff like that. So it's a process. So shout out to all of everybody who's watching that may be going through cancer, maybe a cancer remission, survivor. If you know somebody, it is something different. It is something I would not wish on anybody, but it is something that I continue to deal with, and I make the best out of out of my life, and I make every day a great day.
Hey, Shanice, sending love from Fort Myers, Florida. I want to go back to something that you said as you were discussing, this journey. One of the things you said was one of the things that helped. Obviously, you had a great support system, but you said, I have a therapist myself.
Yes.
That is, I feel like that is so very important. It's almost like every now and then I'll see a hairdresser and I'm like, why your hair jacked up? Like that makes no sense. And every now and then those hairdressers with the jacked up hair can do hair. But
Yeah.
I know when I was looking for a new stylist about 10 years ago, I was drawn to people whose hair was laid, and oftentimes it was a hairdresser because she was her own walking billboard. So,
Exactly.
you being a counselor and a therapist, but recognizing that it is a part of being healthy, of being balanced, of having a great emotional and spiritual well-being is awesome to hear. And you're at work right now, or you
I
finished for the day, but you're here.
I
It
am.
is December. You
Yes.
just finished up in some of your treatment in September, but you are already back to work. So what has it been like getting back into the trenches?
You know what? I'm gonna tell you something. One thing about my clients, they were 100% supportive of me because I let them know. And the reason I'm gonna tell you one of the reasons why I let them know is because, um, with it, like I was having like consistent cough and had to take deep breaths, dealing like with brain fog. So if I feel like if I get tongue twisted, I'm having a brain fog issue or whatever like that. So I didn't want them to think anything negative about me. I didn't want them to think, well, she must be tired, she's sick, she forgetting what I'm saying. So I shared it with them, and especially with my business and my brand, I wanted people to know because I think like, it's last year. Was it last year? Yes, when we lost Chadwick Boseman, and just the stories about how he had stage 4 cancer, and I'm not comparing my cancer, but how nobody knew, and people thought he was getting special treatments, and they couldn't understand. They thought he was being lazy. But when it hit that he had cancer, and a lot of people was just like, well, had I known, I never would have said those things, or I never would have thought those things. So me telling my clients and was just like, I'm going to be gone for a certain amount of time, but I hope that you'll be willing to wait, and I had clients that wait. They was like, they didn't want to see anybody else, so they would wait. I had some to even check on me. It was like, I don't know if this is ethical, but I just want to check on you. Hope you're okay. I said, you fine, honey. Don't nobody got to know that that you checked on me. So it that lets me know that they really thought highly of me, as their therapist, and was really worried about me. And also, I wanted them to know because I didn't want to add any surprises to them. I didn't tell them the week of. Like I gave them enough notice, because some of my clients are attached to me. And I know some clients have dealt with loss of people who had cancer. So it was something for us, to process. Because some of my clients have been with me for a long period of time, and I had to explain to them what it was and, the prognosis. And some people may think it was I was oversharing, but if it gets for them to understand what I'm going through, and help them to continue on this path without me for a couple weeks and know that I was coming back, then hey, let me overshare.
Queen Busy Bee says, I needed this. Thank you.
Oh,
And
you're
thank
so
you for being
welcome.
here. Shanice says, counseling taught me the difference from anxiety and trauma, a very powerful experience. So thank you for sharing that as well, Shanice. Edwin says, I have a question. It may sound crazy. Are these commercials today designed to make you feel bad about yourself or your life? It seems the effects of marketing and advertising are stronger these days.
You know what? I think it depends on what commercials I'm trying. The only commercials I can think about that are the commercials that are advertising for psychotropic medication. Like to take for depression and schizophrenia. Like some of those can um be depressing. And like some infomercials can be depressing. So that's why I tell people you have to be mindful of what you watch. If it's like even with when I was dealing with my cancer, there was certain things that I wouldn't watch. At first I was trying to be okay, teen cancer, let me be supportive. But then I was just like, nah. Anytime an episode came on by cancer, like the episode with Martin family, when the dad, his brother had stage 4 cancer, he was in remission. I was like, I'm gonna watch that. And I seen that episode so many times, but now I'm watching this episode with cancer. It just hit differently. So if anytime if I'm watching anything and it makes me feel sad or it's just too triggering, I always just change the channel. And then sometimes I'm very specific about what I watch. Like I know that reality TV is my secret toxic shows that I like to watch, but sometimes I can only take so much. So it's all about having balance. So I hope that kind of answers the question that the person asks.
And Edwin, if you need to, definitely follow up. Shanice says, I think it all depends on how you personally interpreted the message, but some do seem to put a negative message up as if all hope is gone.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the saying, a hit dog will holler. So if you're feeling that way, then yeah, you may receive it that way. So again, that goes back to me saying if you're feeling a certain type of way, just change the channel.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen, I will say for me, sometimes those weight loss commercials, it's like, you know, I was 400 pounds and now thanks to somebody just fill in the blanks,
Yeah,
I'm 130 pounds and I feel better than I ever have. And, you know, almost making it seem too easy, too good to be true when, there's diet, there's exercise, there's lifestyle changes, all of that.
hereditary,
Hmm.
genetics, illnesses and stuff. Because that's like with me, like I've gained weight since my cancer. And I was having weight problems beforehand because of just dealing with other issues. Like when I had an epidectomy, and the doctor had to cut my stomach open, I'm like, well, I know it was an emergency. I appreciate I'm still alive. I was just like, but now I got this stomach, like I'm lazy or whatever like that. But I mean, it is what it is. And we just have to remember that, we can't believe everything that we see on TV and on social media. You know, some of these some of these bad bodies, they pay for them. So,
Not
and I'm not
just
knocking
that, but
them,
they're
not
filters. Like I literally saw someone say that even, I'm used to the filtered pictures. We've all seen that, you, especially when you know someone in person, you just saw someone, 3 days ago up at the IHOP, hey girl, what's going on? Then you see the picture online, like, hold up. Like,
like you don't
I
live
know
like
skincare is real, but nah, boo. So we know that things are edited. But I actually saw a video where someone actually photoshopped their video to look thinner. And I was like, who does that? But apparently some people do. Thank you, Shanice. I appreciate that. I
that.
gotta do a last minute wardrobe change. You won't go into all those details. But shifting gears just a little bit, Brandy.
Okay.
We're still in the middle of a pandemic, and
Yes,
you
we
know,
are.
very few people in our lifetime have seen a pandemic before. We've heard a lot about the pandemic in the early 1900s. There are very few people who are alive now who were alive then. There are some, but very few. So this is completely new for all of us. And I know myself, I have had a lot of pandemic fatigue, and yet there are some cautions that likely still need to be taken. So, what advice would you offer for people who are just exhausted with this new, hopefully temporary normal? Like, how can they get their mojo back if they've lost it?
You know what? You A lot of times people saying going back to normal, we may not ever go back to how it used to be. So we need to create a new normal for us. The pandemic is here. It's been here over a year. We got a new variant that I just heard just came to California. So we we just we just have to be mindful of it, and we have to create some type of balance. We don't have to be stuck in the house where we don't go out, but we also have to take precautions, not only for ourselves, but for people around us. Because to me, I think the worst feeling anybody want to have is that somebody caught COVID because of me, because of something that I did. But I think this is a good time for people to get to know themselves again, you know, uh, rediscover yourself. You know, a lot of new businesses have been created,
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic. Um, People were able to finish up tasks that they never had the time to do. People have rebuilt relationships, and some people have reevaluated relationships, you know. So I think that's some things that we need to do is just, you utilize this time to create something positive for ourselves. Get to know ourselves, because a lot of people don't like to be alone. They don't like being by themselves. And that's why I'm just like, this is the time to get to know you, to start loving you, to find out what do you like, and create some new things for you to do. And like I said, get to know the people who are in your intimate circles.
Well, as if the pandemic fatigue isn't enough, here we are in the midst of another holiday season that may look very different for a number of reasons. Everything from people who have experienced loss, either loss that was, just happened, or loss that is a result of the pandemic, specifically COVID. And then there are people who, for many years, have not necessarily looked forward to the holidays for a number of reasons. Either resources don't allow them to celebrate the way more people do. Maybe the holidays have had negative connotations or bring back negative memories from childhood. How, what are some tips that you could give for those who are dreading this holiday season?
Well, we just finished Thanksgiving, and I know what I when Thanksgiving occurred, I was telling people, be thankful for what you do have and focus on what's going right in your life, because we're so quick to think about what's going wrong. So I for the Christmas holiday to to do the do similar to, be around those that you have a wonderful relationship with. If you don't have the means to give people material things, give people your time. I always tell people, your presence is the best present. Just knowing that you are here. Um, and if you can be with people or help people who are less fortunate, because there's always somebody that's in a worse situation that we are in. And again, just find time, find things to do for yourself. For the holidays, for me, those are the times I just want to be relaxed. Let me chill, let me lay down, let me sleep in. That's rejuvenating for me. That's self-care for me. So when I do get with family, I'm cool because I was able to be with me. So we also have to learn how to put ourselves first and do what we need to do for ourselves. Because a lot of times for the holidays, Christmas has become very materialistic, very commercialized.
Very commercial.
People will
Say
celebrate
that again.
people will celebrate Christmas before Halloween got here. you know so so we really need to get back to the purpose of Christmas, and it's just being with each other and just spreading love and spreading joy, and just find a way of how we can do that. And I know sometimes, the holidays can be very depressing for people for whatever reason, lost ones, being single, being by yourself, not being where you want to be. It's like Christmas, like, can remind people that you're not living the life that you should be living. And it goes back to what I said about Thanksgiving. Focus on what's right in your life, and focus on the things that you are thankful for. I think if we focus on what we do have control over, the things that we don't have control over will be minimized.
Hmm. I love that quote that you just said. Your presence is the real present.
It is.
Indeed, it definitely can be. Um, any final thoughts as we begin to wrap up our conversation, and especially again knowing that this pandemic is not over yet. I mean, March of 2022, I don't want to think that way. When I say think that way, like, oh, maybe come January, we may have reached herd immunity and it's done. And it's like, wow, that was the best gift, at the top of the year. But we do know that March of 2020, the world changed.
It
And
did.
for better or for worse, we are all interconnected and dependent on each other to weather this particular storm. So, as we wrap up, are there any final tips you'd like to share?
I say, again, create a new normalcy for yourself, because again, we may not go back to how things used to be. And just because things don't go back to how it used to be does not mean that we cannot have a successful life, a successful way of living. Um, Focus on yourself, self-care. We're busy trying to be there for other people that we're neglecting ourselves, and that can also play a part into seasonal depression and the fatigue that we're getting from the pandemic. And also at the end of the day, that if you feel like that this pandemic is really, really getting to you, it's okay to go to therapy for it. You'll be surprised. A lot of people think if you go to therapy, it means that you're crazy, that you don't have the faith or whatever like that. It means that I am dealing with something that I can't fix myself, and I need somebody that has the tools to fix it. It's easy.
Absolutely.
It's that easy.
Edwin has another question for
Okay.
you, and Edwin he's been one of the most loyal viewers here at the Angela Ray Show. I have been working in the retail and customer service for almost 20 years. I'm so desensitized to the holidays. Any advice for people like me?
Well, kudos for you for being in retail and customer service for 20 years. That you have to be a strong person to do that. The ideas I would say learn how to separate, you know, the work holidays and the holidays for yourself. Meaning when you go to work, you understand the environment you're going to be in. Customers are not going to be the best people. People are going to be fighting over items and things like that. But when you go home, you know the true meaning of the holidays, and the true meaning has nothing to do with money. So I hope that works.
And thank you. I was just telling Shanice earlier, this was a last minute wardrobe
Well,
change
it
because
worked out
yeah,
for you.
it worked out. It
It
definitely worked
did.
out. So, Brandy J. Flynn, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule, staying at the office a little bit later so that we could get together tonight. Oh, we got another comment. We must always remember it's okay not to be okay and let others help us get better. That is so
Yeah,
true.
that
I
is
know I
such.
can speak from personal experience. I I am resistant to asking for help. I don't know what it is, but I know that about myself that I am resistant. And so when I do ask for help, it's like it took a lot for me to get there, but I'm very thankful for those who have saw sometimes where I needed assistance and didn't ask, but they just stepped up. Just like you said, when you were going through your treatment, oftentimes you didn't have to ask your support system for help. They just did things.
Yeah, they
So
did.
often that's the way it needs to go.
Yeah, and I'm glad she said that. It is okay to not be okay. We have to understand that we're going to have our moments, and it's normal. So yeah, I tell people it's okay to not be okay. It's fine. We're gonna get. It's the thing is to recognize it and to deal with it. Don't just let it sit there.
Right. Yeah, it's okay not to be okay, but you don't want to be okay forever with being
Yeah,
okay.
right. It's
Definitely.
okay to not
Absolutely.
be okay, but don't be okay with not being okay.
Hmm. Might need to put that on a shirt. All right. All right. Brandy's Instagram as well as her website are scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to connect with her. And of course, in these virtual times, counseling and mental health services are offered virtually. So definitely reach out to her. So Brandy, again, thank you so much, Soror. We never even talked about that.
We sure
For
didn't.
neither one of us have on read tonight, but thank you so much for taking the time out to share your wisdom with the audience tonight as we kick off, I guess, officially the holiday season. And have a great evening.
Yeah, you do the same. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, that is it for tonight's Angela Ray show. As always, I would like to remind you of Ray of Motivation number 54. Cleaning a mirror does not change the person who is reflected in it. Until next time, I encourage you all to go out and be the change. Have a great week, and I'll